because one of the services that Verista offers are things around IT services, as well related to the compliance and cybersecurity area, other areas. What if we could service you, lower your cost to operate in your existing facility to free up cash so you can reinvest it in the new facility, right? And so it created an opportunity for us to potentially work together to solve two problems with one organization. You talked about what differentiates Verista. That's one of the things that, we can do and think about.
Yeah, it's so important to sort of consider, what the project scope trade-offs could be, right? If they're truly limiting scope due to time, and that's a constraint, and yet they can leverage another resource to possibly
Absolutely.
help, include that scope. It's a great way to leverage, I feel like, additional capacity that's not internal. And I feel
Absolutely.
like that's where consultants play a role all the time.
Yeah, sure. I think there's really two things that consultants do, right? One, they either offer a capability, right? Something that they know how to do that the organization doesn't know how to do or needs help standing up or implementing. The second one, and I don't think it should be downplayed, is capacity, to your point, right? Like the organization may know how to do it. They may be capable, they may have the capabilities, and sometimes you just need a little more help, right? A little more person power to achieve what you're trying to do in the time frame you're trying to do it. And so, I think that's a valuable thing for consultants to provide. We do that across all of the organizations I've worked for. We never shy away from that work. So yeah, absolutely. It's either capacity or capability that often consultants are providing to our clients.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring up a dirty word in my book. So this word digital transformation. So what role does digital transformation play in Verista services, and how do you see it evolving? I guess also, how do you see it maybe used well, and how do you see it abused? Because I mean, the reason why I say it's a dirty word is that I see a lot of people, whenever they don't know what to say, they say, well, we're going to undergo a digital transformation. We were told by a consultant that this is something that we need to do. And then you sort of look at the beginning point and the end point, and then you're like, did they really wind up in a better place? So yeah, that's the reason why I say what I say about it. So
no, I agree. I think digital transformation is something, to your point, that's overused and a bit of a buzzword at times. Digital itself, right, is a word, and transformation, right? Both of those words are buzzwords that consultants use an awful lot, and you put them together, right? So I think if you look at the quality commissioning and validation and other regulatory and standard task and business, I think what needs to happen and evolve is how that work is actually performed and done. So if you look at a lot of it, particularly on the commissioning, qualification, and validation side, it is largely manual, right? And so when you look at the work that needs to be done and you talk about digital transformation, there's a real opportunity to take a huge amount of manual tasks and make them digital. And there's two approaches to that. One is, digitizing a process. And the other is, actually, making it more digitally native, right? And I think that's where we have the most opportunity related to digital transformation. So, I was working with a colleague of mine, and we looked at the work that's required from a commissioning quality validation perspective, leveraging some digital tools. And I'll use another dirty word for you, right? Leveraging some AI as well, right? You're able to drive a significant portion of manual effort out of that process, right? For protocol generation and a few other things. And you still need people, and you still need, other sort of processes that aren't, able to be digital immediately, but thinking about and putting a stake in the ground to move those things forward. I personally think, that's how you drive the change. And I personally think we're a little bit behind in that space, frankly. Not just my organization, but folks that are servicing from a regulatory compliance and validation perspective. And there's reasons for that, right? Part of the risk is, we believe that Tom or Jane, has 25 years, 20 years experience of doing X, Y, Z in the regulatory space. But we don't know that this AI solution or this other digital process is as well tested or as proven or as unfallible, right? And so some of those things I think create uncertainty and angst when you're trying to drive digital transformation, particularly in this space, particularly in the regulatory space. The other challenge I think we're seeing is, how do you ensure that it's explainable, right? If it's digital is great, it creates, official audit trails and different things like that. But if you're venturing into some of the newer technology for AI in other areas, it becomes, how do I validate, what's been said or why a decision was made? And so I think for valid reasons, we're a little bit behind in that space. But I think we're overly resistant as an industry, particularly in the compliance regulatory validation space.
Yeah, I also, to give, credit where credit is due as well. I feel like, once a system or process is embedded in something that's validated, a lot of people just don't want to go back and touch it again. Because it's like, I remember, it took us, a long time to do this initially and a fair amount of money. And typically those sort of concerns that come along with this sort of space and conversation as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. There's an investment there, but I think the other piece of it is, there's a systematic review for many of those systems, tools, technology, software, in the cycle of every 2 years for many of those things, if not more frequent. And so, I think having the right planning for a collection of solutions or collection of equipment, and not all of it, right? But sort of moving through that in those 2-year cycles can allow for more incremental investment. And over time, then all of those things become refreshed and then in the new digital approach or digital format. There's other things though, I think that frankly, to your point, right? It's to take all the paper and then get it into the digital validation system. Maybe you do leave it and then you just start the new ones, right? So there's ways of getting around it. But I think, again, to your point, Don, right, there's just a general reluctancy and a perspective that, gosh, this is going to be painful. And I think that is holding us back a little bit in this space for driving greater digital transformation.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity here for sure. I think to your point, right? So to me, new digital technology and things that remove paper, things that kind of constrain errors from happening, right? So all of those things are huge benefits to everybody. And at the end of the day, wouldn't you like something that makes, one, the work easy, and two, make it easy to detect when errors are going to happen? Three, with AI and some of the new technologies as well, some of the things that I've heard in previous podcasts is that, hey, look, some of the technology that's coming makes being audited a little easier too, because, you could kind of, say, hey, look, I need everything related to this particular process, inside of the company and give me, all of the documentation and essentially all the performance within this time period. You could have it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, absolutely. Yeah. If you're using a generative AI or machine learning solution there, you can absolutely do that. But even if that seems like a bridge too far, there's organizations out there, places that Verista partners with, like Blue Mountain, for example, that, has an inventory of all of the equipment in the facility, last time it was inspected, what was it done? And so to your point, when the auditors come, it's there, right? It's pulled up, right? You can look it up, you can pull it, you can print it out, you can do what you need to do. It's not, hey, let me go, hey, Don, did you look at machine 254 last time?